So, now I just want to introduce our next attorney. So I just wanted to introduce our next attorney, Miss Attorney Anita Levian. So she is a law firm partner of Levian Law, and she's the president and she handles business legal affairs at the Highland Film Group. So I'd love to introduce her. Thank you so much for coming today.
Hello. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Anita. Thank you for the introduction. I've been practicing law for about over 15, 20 years now. I started my career in entertainment law. So what I used to do was, when there was a movie being made, an independent film, I would do the contracts. So we would license the films to international distributors and give them the right to put the movie out in their country. So my specialty is contracts. So a lot of those contracts you read, you see, and you're asked to be signed. I work on those, and a lot of times what people don't know is there are some things in there that you should be really aware of, especially if you're signing an agreement that makes you pay certain money or if you're waiving certain rights. That's where it's important to speak to an attorney before you sign the agreement. Because sometimes those agreements ask you to agree to something that you may not necessarily understand because the font is really small or there's language in there that you may not understand. So if you ever come across any of those contracts, feel free to ask an attorney to review it for you before you sign. Okay, I could open up the floor to any questions you may have.
Would you like to switch the mics?
Oh, this one? Hello? Okay, this one's better? Sure.
Just so that people have some time to think about their questions relating to that, I think I can start off with an anonymous question. The first one being about recording and publishing communications. And the question was, is it legal to record and publish phone conversation or FaceTime video calls on social media, and what are the potential legal implications about that?
So that answer will depend on what is being recorded. Usually, and sometimes this is where attorneys come in as well, is sometimes the person who has a video or an image of themselves have agreed that whoever else wants to use their image or their likeness, is what we call, they have to have a waiver signed, or they have to get approval to use their likeness and image and recording. Sometimes, not always, but on social media or any type of websites, the person putting up their video has agreed with that social media platform that their video can be used for other purposes in other media for other rights. So ultimately, it will always depend on what the video is. Generally speaking though, I think you should always look at the terms and conditions of the website or what it is that you are recording and wanting to use. Your use of the video will also depend on what you want to use it for. For obvious reasons, you can't take a video you find on social media and, claim it as your own. So I think it will just depend on what the video is and the social media platform.
Another anonymous question we have is related to liability for Zelle transactions. So the question is, what are the potential risks and liabilities associated with Zelle or similar digital payment transactions with an individual who is involved in other illegal financial transactions, such as unofficial money transfers?
Yes, so this happens quite often. And actually, I don't know if you've experienced this yourself with Venmo or Zelle, but a lot of times before you are making the transfer, if that contact is not in your phone, Zelle or Venmo will say, hey, I just want to confirm that this person is the authorized or intended recipient of the funds. Just, double check. What I like to suggest sometimes is always start by sending $5 or even $1 only and confirm with the recipient that they did receive it. If you're sending a large amount of money, don't send the large amount of money all at once. Test it out with a few dollars, confirm receipt on the other side, and if it goes through and it's the person that you intended the money to go through, then proceed with the larger transaction. Just be really mindful of that.
Okay, so we have another question about defamation. This one is about addressing defamation on social media. And the question is, what legal options are available to address defamatory posts on social media that target a specific individual or organization?
Yeah, unfortunately social media is notorious for this. I would say that, a lot of social media, I know Instagram for sure, Facebook for sure, they have the option to report those posts. So if you see something offensive, if you see something that someone posted about someone or someplace that you find is not proper, you can always report that post. Again, if you go on the contact page of that social media website, you can also report a proper email formally and say, this is the post, this is the link to the post, and I find it inappropriate or offensive for these reasons. And usually, if that social media agrees with what you're saying, they will remove that post within 24 to 48 hours.
So we have another question involving business name infringement. So the anonymous person asked, what legal resource do I have if someone is using the same business name for the same type of business in a different county within the same state?
That's tricky. That will depend on whether or not you have trademarked your entity. Generally speaking, there are not many, if you have not trademarked or registered your entity, other people do have the right to kind of mimic your name or your business entity, even if it is in the same city, county. I don't know why someone would want to do that, because then they're just competing with you. But it's safe, and it doesn't hurt to always trademark your company. It can protect you.
Yeah, and then I think one of the questions also is for serving a summons with an incorrect address. So if a person we are suing provides a false address to avoid receiving a summons, what are the legally permissible methods to ensure proper service of the summons? And what are the potential consequences for the person for providing a false address?
So I know there's investigators that can track down the actual person you're looking for and find out where their proper address is so they could be served. It costs a few $100s, I think, to hire one of those investigators, but if you believe that you're passionate about suing that person and you have the legal rights to do so, it's worth investing in those few $100s. To be honest with you, I'm not quite sure what the legal ramifications are for that person registering a false address. I'd say, report it to your local authorities and they can take further action.
And that's it with our questions about civil law. And oh, we have someone with a question right over there.
The guy with the video camera. There's a lot of content from Myanmar that people are using the movie or music video and they share online on YouTube. Is it legal? And they monetize, and then they make money out of it. So can you explain a little bit about it?
Yes, so YouTube actually has a dedicated team that serves and helps people with infringement issues. And what happens is you file what's called a DMCA notice, complaint, and what it says is, it's a very simple form. You include the link to the video that is an unauthorized usage, and you claim who you are on behalf of that video, whether you're the authorized copyright holder or you're a legal representative of that video. And YouTube will actually do their entirely own investigation and determine whether that usage of the video is proper or not. When I was working for the film company, a lot of times our movies got pirated and they got onto YouTube. So as the lawyer, I was in charge of issuing those emails to YouTube and issuing a cease and desist notice saying, hey, YouTube, please cease and desist putting this video on your website because it's unauthorized. That movie belongs to, us or such and such, the copyright holder. In order for YouTube to have the right to play certain videos, they need a license. So that's what I was talking about earlier, is a lot of these videos, movies, TV shows, these social media platforms need a license to show these clips and movies.
Yeah, including this video.
Including this video. Yes.
Speaking of pirating, I have another question. So I know there's a lot of dangers behind pirating, and I know there's multiple websites out there that offer pirated films and movies for free. And I was just wondering, what are the dangers of using those websites and what you should do to avoid them?
So using them, you as a consumer, you will not get in trouble. I'm sure everyone has done it. You'd rather pay $0 to watch a movie rather than $25 a ticket. However, for the person that is in charge of pirating that movie and, capturing an illegal version of that movie and placing it on a website for free, I know sometimes, the local authorities, it's considered a federal crime, so just avoid it, is what I would say.
Okay. Just checking to see if we have any more questions.
So if anyone has any questions that they would like that are in Burmese, that are hard to translate in English, you can raise your hand and me or Thenga will come over there and assist you with that. I also had a question. So I know that the film industry recently, there's a lot of bigger companies above it, and a lot of the ma type of companies are struggling to produce those type of films and movies to make profit. So I was just gonna ask for your opinion on that affecting your law firm and business.
Yeah, it's having a really, really big effect actually. Independent films there's not as much of a space for them as there used to be, mainly because right now what dictates content is what the streamers want to buy. So if Netflix or Amazon or Hulu don't have a reason to have that movie on their platform, then independent films don't have an opportunity to survive. Also, since a lot of people don't go to movie theaters anymore because you could just pay a $10 subscription per month, there isn't as much of a demand for motion pictures anymore unless it's a big 3D studio movie or a franchise movie, let's say like Jurassic Park or Star Wars. So for that reason, a lot of the independent films are struggling. Yeah.
I'm just gonna open up the floor to any other questions you guys may have. Yes, no, okay. So thank you so much for coming up to here and speaking about that. I'm gonna give a little insight on you as well because I keep forgetting to do so. But I heard that you were a California litigation attorney and you were solely based in LA, right? Correct? So you focus your time on passionately advocating for injured victims, wronged employees, and sexually abused and assaulted individuals. So thank you so much for coming up here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Aku ဒုတိယတစ်ယောက်ပေါ့နော်ဒုတိယတစ်ယောက်က Miss Anita Levian သူက law firm ပိုင်ပါတယ်သူလည်းသူကအဓိကတော့ professionally entertainment နဲ့ခုန movie တွေပါရဲ့ patent တို့ copyright တို့ intellectual property တို့နော်ညာနာပိုင်ဆိုင်ခွင့်တို့ဒါတွေပေါ့ဒါအမှန်မှန်ရုပ်တက်ကြည့်ရင်တိတ်အရေးမကြီးဘူးထင်တယ်ဗမာပြည်အတွက်ကတော့တော်တော်အရေးကြီးပါတယ်ဘာဖြစ်လို့လဲဆိုတော့ဗမာပြည်ကဆင်းရဲပြီးတော့ဆင်းရဲတယ်ဆိုတာလေအဆက်အသွယ်တိတ်မရှိပဲနှစ်ပေါင်းများစွာနေကြရတော့ဒီဆိုရဲတချင်းတွေကိုတချို့ကလက်မှတ်တွေထိုးခိုင်းမိုဘိုင်းပဲကောက်ယူပြီးလဲပြီးတော့အခု YouTube တို့ Facebook တို့လည်းခက်စားလာရော YouTube မှာတင်လိုက်ရင်ဒါကြည့်တဲ့လူပေါ်မူတည်ပြီးနားထောင်သမျှကျွန်တော်တို့လည်းအမြဲတမ်းဗမာတချင်းလေးနားထောင်တယ်ခိုင်တူတချင်းနားထောင်တယ်ကျွန်တော် generation ဆိုပေါ့နော်တောင်းနဲ့ချီပြီးရပါတယ်တို့ဒီ YouTube ကတဆင်ပေါ့နော်ကြော်ညာတွေဘာတွေကနေလူကြည့်တဲ့လူတိန်ကနန်းတန်ကနန်းလေးလည်းပြစ်ကောတလောက်9000လောက်ထိ9000မကောက်ဝင်လို့ရှိတဲ့လူလည်းကျွန်တော်သိပါတယ်အဲ့လိုတော့ဝင်ပါတယ်ဒါတွေက တချို့ကတော့တကယ်ကဲကန်ရှင်တချင်းဆိုတဲ့လူတို့တချင်းရေးထားတဲ့လူတွေကတိတောင်မတိလိုက်ရှေးတော့ကတော့လောကောက်ခရောက်ကဘာညာလက်မှတ်တွေကောက်ထိုးတာပေါ့သူကရေဒီယိုမှာလွှင့်နေတာအကောင်လုံးမူပိုင်တွေကဘယ်လိုတွေဖြစ်နေလဲတော့ကျွန်တော်မသိဘူးဒါပေမဲ့အမေရိကတော့ဒီမူပိုင်နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီး super professional ပေါ့ဒါကြောင့်YouTube တို့တို့မှာဒီလိုဖက်တယ်မရှိပဲ copyright မရှိပဲလာတင်ထားလို့ရှိရင်ဖြတ်ချတာရှိပါတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ကိုကအထောက်ထားနဲ့ပြပြီးတင်လိုက်ရင်အဲ့မှာရတဲ့ပတ်စံကိုစီဝင်လာအောင်ပေါ့ဒီကိစ္စနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးကျွန်တော်နောက်ပိုင်းနည်းနည်း detail လုပ်ပေးဖို့ရှိပါတယ် request တွေပါရှိရင်တော့တကယ်ကဒါအင်မတန်ကောင်းတဲ့ income ပေါ့နော်ဒီခေတ်ကရုပ်ရှင်တွေတွေမှာကိုယ်တိုင်မှမဟုတ်ဘူးဒီလိုကိုဆိုရတဲ့တခြင်းတွေအခုလိုမျိုးပေါ့ဆက်ထားတဲ့ရေးထားတဲ့ဟာတွေအကုန်လုံး YouTube ပေါ်တင်လိုက်ဝိုင်းနားထောင် income ကတလား100 200 300 500 1000ဒါဆိုရင်ပမာပြီးမှအလုပ်လုပ်ဖို့တော့မလိုဘူးလေကိုကနဲ့ထိုင်စားလို့ဒါတောင်တော့ထိုင်စားလို့ဆိုင်စားလို့လည်းရှိတော့ရှိနေပါဒီ social media မှာ influencer ပေါ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဩဇာရှင်လို့ခေါ်တယ်သူတို့ရေးတဲ့သူတို့ income တွေကလည်းမနှဲပါဘူးထောင်ကနန်းနေအများကြီးပါပဲတချို့ဆိုဒါနဲ့ခီးကဘာလုံးပတ်လို့တော့ရတယ်ဒီ YouTube ရဲ့ဝင်ငွေကဘာမှာ YouTube ကတော်တော်များပါတယ်ဂျပန်နဲ့တချို့ဆိုရင်သိန်းကနန်းတန်းကနန်းတော့ဝင်တာအဲ့တော့သူတို့ကဒီအဆိုတော်တို့ရုပ်ရှင်မင်းသားမင်းသမီးတို့နဲ့တောင်မှသူကဝင်ငွေကတူလောက်ဖြစ်နေတော့တချို့နာမည်ကြီးတာလည်းအဲ့လိုပေါ့လေသူတို့လည်းဒီအတန်လွတ်ဌာနတဲ့တလေးတစားဖိတ်ပြီးတော့စကားပြောခိုင်းရတာမျိုးပေါ့ဒါဒီခေတ်ကပြောင်းသွားတဲ့ဟာပေါ့နော် entertainment နဲ့ဒီ social media နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးပြောင်းသွားတဲ့ income ပုံစံရှေးပုံစံလိုမျိုးကြောညာဒီ TV station တွေယူတာမဟုတ်တော့ဘဲနဲ့အကုန်လုံး share ပြီးယူထားတယ်ပေါ့ဒါတွေကအရေးအရန်ကြည့်ပါတယ်ဒီကနေငွေအရန်အများကြီးဖြစ်နိုင်လို့ပါအသေးစိတ်ဆက်သွယ်ခြင်းတဲ့လူရှိရင်ကျွန်တော်ပြောပါကျွန်တော်စာတန်းလဲထိုးပေးထားပါတယ်စာတန်းထိုးတယ်ဆိုတာသူတို့ address ကိုလည်းပေးထားပါတယ်ဒါရိုက်ဆက်လို့လည်းရပါတယ်မြန်မာကိစ္စက referral လို့ပြောလို့လည်းရပါတယ်ကိုယ့်ကိုတန်းပြီးဆက်လည်းရပါတယ်ကျွန်တော်နဲ့တဆင့်အလုပ်လည်းရပါတယ်ဒါလေးကျွန်တော်ဖွင့်ပြီးပြောထားခြင်းလို့ပါเนาะဒါ Anita Levian เนาะMiss Anita Levian ပါ